Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our session for this week. Over the past few weeks, we're looking at self-management and self-development. And I hope you managed to also submit your action plans and everything. So today we're going to move forward. We'll move to the second learning unit, which is personal and corporate citizenship. And our focus between today and probably next week will be on communication. Our main focus will be on communication. Then you are also reminded that you are supposed to attend a webinar. Please, guys, attend because there are some things there that sometimes they might ask, which will be dependent on that in future. So it is very important that, and if you fail to attend, you can always make sure that you get the recording. I understand that there will be 3 webinars that will be held, and you can just attend one because they are the same. There will be repeat webinars. I think the other one is, I think they are happening in May. I think the dates, I'm not very sure. Let me just check the dates quickly. Right, that is on Saturday, the 6th of May at 9 to 10 a.m. Then there is Monday, 8 May, 1 to 2 p.m. And there is Tuesday, 9 May, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. So you just have to choose one that you can attend because all of them will be the same. All of them will be the same. So you can just attend one of them, one of the 3. All right. So before we look at communication, we can just look at the background of this topic. As I said, that our main focus will be on communication, but before we go there, we can look at some of the important aspects that lead us to this topic. Right. So let me just. Right. We're dealing with personal and corporate citizenship. Right. First of all, we start from the background of accounting. I think we know that accounting traditional, it was all about preparing the financial statements. After preparing the financial statements, then report on those financial statements to users of financial statements. That is the main aim of accounting. So you'd find that accountants were mainly focused on presentation of financial statements. So role of accountants was traditionally the provision of financial information. Financial information. But now the modern accountant is no longer just focused on provision of financial information, right? This mainly stems from the limitations of financial statements. Remember that as a financial accountant, you no longer just have to produce the accounts like what used to happen. You now have to give ideas. You now have to participate in shaping the strategy of the company. You now have to participate in the risk analysis. So you are now a strategic thinker, not just sitting on the desk preparing accounts, and that's it. Right. So this role of the modern role comes from the limitations of the financial statements. Right. Financial statements, their major limitation is that they are usually historical. In fact, they are historical. You report on the performance of the business during the past financial year. Then when you report that information, you would also find that they can be biased because the preparer, it is the responsibility. You would find that it is for the responsibility of the directors, and they might need to provide a favorable financial position, right? Because they are historical, they don't reflect changes due to inflation. So if you are living in an inflationary environment, they will become outdated over time. So you'll be talking about financial statements that might not be useful. Right. Then various issues are also a product of judgment, and therefore subjective. For example, you'd find that when you record your property, plant and equipment, you record the property, plant and equipment at cost minus accumulated depreciation. How you determine that that depreciation is a thing of your subjective judgment. That let me use straight line. Okay, I'm using straight line. What are the years that I should use? Let me use maybe useful life for 5 years. How did you get that? That depends on the person preparing the financial statements. Right. Now, because of these weaknesses, there is now a shift in the role of accountants with the feeling that they should contribute more to the organization. So you'd find that accountants now you have to deal with both financial and non-financial strategic information. So now you have to deal with the more information than before. So you'd find that that will involve a lot of communication to the stakeholders and trying to add value to the business. So the focus is on adding value to the business and ensuring accountability. Right. And you'd find that according to the King Code, that's now we have what? Integrated reporting, whereby when we produce the financial statements, we don't just report on the statement of profit or loss, statement of financial position, and the statement of cash flows and stuff like that. We now have to report on how we have executed our corporate citizenship. Like when we talk about corporate citizenship, we're saying the organization and the individual as citizens have a responsibility because they are citizens within where they operate. And because of their citizenship, they've got rights that they expect from society. A business has got rights, and you as a professional accountant, you've got rights that you expect to be respected. And at the same time, you also have obligations towards society. That's where personal and corporate citizenship comes into play. whereby there will be responsibility both for individuals working within organization and also for the organization as a whole. And also they will also have rights within that which they can claim. So I think later on you're going to do more about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, whereby they look at sustainability. I think one writer defined it correctly as maybe trying to satisfy the needs of the current generation without compromising the future. Right. Now, for you to be able to report on integrated reporting and to give all this information, there might be need to what? There will be a need for a lot of communication. So hence, we'll be dealing with what? With communication. Right. So we'll first deal with communication. Right. Communication, this is a process which is used to convey oral or written messages to recipients. Right. Normally there will be a sender who has to send so we'll find that normally the following will be involved. So we'll have the sender who has to send the message, and who has an intention. When you are sending a message, you have got an intention. Maybe you are communicating financial statements. There is information that you want to the users to know about the performance of the business. Right. Then there should also be the channel that you are going to use. There are many ways that you can use to communicate, and it is important to know what is the best way to communicate in a particular situation. You can send a WhatsApp message. You can send a formal report. You can use social media. You can be able to use an email. You can use voice notes. You can send a video. So you have to know what is the best way to communicate. Then there's also a receiver. That means the intended recipients of the message. Then we have got feedback. Normally, it's not always that like in fact there should always be feedback. Feedback can be communicated back, or it can be by doing. For example, if you are told by your boss to prepare a report, you can just prepare the report and give the report to the boss. Right. Then it can also be by action. When you're told to keep quiet, you can just keep quiet. That's the response. So there should also be feedback. So it is very, very, very important that communication can be properly understood. Communication, as we said, can be oral or it can be written. And when we talk about oral messages, it can be what you speak with words, or it can be unspoken actions. So you'd find that there can be a body language that you can use to connect with whoever you are communicating with. You can even use art. Like when I'm communicating with you, when I write like this, it's a communication that this is the heading. That's why it's different from this. That on its own, that's a communication. So you can use many things to communicate. Right? It is very, 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 very important to make sure that our communication is proper. is if communication is not proper, and if it's misunderstood, it can have dire consequences, both in the workplace and in relationships between humans. Right. So let's look at the effective business communication. Right. When we talk about effective business communication, this is communication that produces the desired results. And that builds relationship, and at the end of the day, it should result in understanding amongst the recipient and the sender. Right. Now, according to Hatton, there are various advantages of effective communication. Right. These advantages also add our own, builds and maintains relationship. You would find that if communication is not done properly, it can harm relationships. The way your boss talks to you can build or harm a relationship. The way you talk to your kids, if they know that you are always harsh, maybe they will not respect you, but they will fear you. The way you talk to your partner will affect your relationship with them. So we have to try by all means that we engage positively, respectively, with those we engage with, so that our relations can be strengthened. So we should communicate with respect, and we should also understand others before we communicate, and know what they like and what they don't like if you know them. I think we're going to talk very soon about differences in culture. You are supposed to make sure that whenever you communicate, you can communicate in a way that does not bring harm. Right. A effective communication facilitates innovation. Right. When communication is not right, subordinates can be afraid to express themselves. You would find that they might not even bring their ideas because they know that their boss will always shoot them down. But if there is a proper way of communication, people will feel free to express their ideas, and the boss will say whatever he's saying, and there are angles that you might not have seen, which subordinates can even see and then correct to arrive at the better at better ideas. So good ideas that develop the organization can be can arise from effective and open communication. Right. Then it builds effective teams. There's nothing as disastrous as team members who do not like each other, who are always suspicious about each other, who are not open to each other, who are always working against each other. I think you're going to do teams. You will know that for a team to be effective, there should be an understanding that should be. Of course, we know that whenever there are two people or more, there are bound to be differences. But we are saying those differences, we can find a working relationship regardless of our differences through effective communication. We can understand each other, and we can have happy teams because they know that they know how to communicate with each other. that can translate to happiness in the workplace, which can even translate to productivity, right? Which can also contribute company growth. Right. If there is proper communication, there can be progress. For example, let's say we've got sales. Sales and marketing, they go on the market and research and find that the entity can be able to sell 10,000 units. Then we've got production. They are busy, their target is to produce as much as possible. Then they produce 19,000 units. But marketing has got 10,000 units out there. Why? Because there was no communication and there was no working together. Those 19,000 will just, they will not be, the other extra 9,000 will just be stocked. They will need security, they will need additional inventory holding cost, resulting in the company losing out. But if there is proper communication and harmony within the organization, the organization can be able to find effective ways of controlling costs and increasing revenue, which will result in company growth and profitability, because everything is being done in a cost-effective manner, right? Then there is also transparency. Effective communication breeds openness, whereby different people can be know that our communication is professional and it's respectful and stuff like that. There can be openness without hiding anything. But if you there's suspicion amongst the different parties, the receiver and the sender, you might find that maybe one of the parties might not disclose everything that needs to be that the other party needs for them to make a decision. And at the end of the day, the communication will not produce the desired results. All right. So now, when you communication is there to bring understanding among individuals, right? According to researchers, when you want to communicate effectively, you also have to understand the culture of different people. You also have to understand the culture of different people, because there are ways of communication that you do maybe at your home, which you find that some colleagues at the workplace might find offensive. Some people, they think there are cultures which think that all things should be done formally when you're addressing work issues. But some cultures know that even when you are at maybe at a weekend with your boss, you can even talk about work issues, how you can improve your workplace. But some, they can't take it. Work issues should be work issues. They are not discussed away from the workplace. There are some cultures whereby if you cannot call a person by using a finger to call them to come. But some cultures will take it as a normal thing for someone to call using a finger sign to call someone. Some, they think it's disrespectful. So you have to understand the culture of different right, for there to be proper communication, right? You'd find that in your there's a document that you can also check within your if you go on my UNISA, it has got good examples which show how culture can be able to cause differences. Is that right? There's an example of the Chinese and the Americans, whereby there's an example that a Chinese team went to America, and when they were welcomed by a junior employee, where they were supposed to sign a contract. Then by the next day, they didn't sign any contracts and they left. Why? Because they felt disrespected because of being received by a junior employee. To them, in their culture, when we've got big people, they should be received by big people within the company. So because of that, there was no the Americans, to them it's casual, there's equality, so they don't feel anything about that. So because of that, it caused a problem. Then there's also a good example of an Australian who went to Thailand and was working in Thailand. And in the Australian culture, to make jokes about others is a way of making the environment jovial, and they don't take it seriously. They know that it's a joke. But in Thailand, jokes are not taken lightly. So you find that the guy was trying to make to fit in the organization, but because the Thai culture could not take the way that he was doing it, then there was a problem with it. Then you also have a good example of the Dutch and the British, whereby they give an example that the British usually, when you do something, when they say it's fine, they don't necessarily mean everything is ended. They can even review the thing and then they come back and say, no, 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 this is not right. Whereas the Dutch, immediately when they say it's okay, they've already analyzed everything. They don't say it's okay before they analyze everything. So you'd find that within the British culture, they already know that if someone says it's okay, they might come back and say, no, 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 I then looked at it, it was not okay. So those were examples that you have on your, you can always go on my UNISA. So you can see that there are different ways people, according to that they accept within their cultures. So for you to be an effective communicator, you have to be able to understand the cultures of the recipients of and of the people you are going to work with. For example, when you came from your home area, there are things that you know that in your home area, they are very acceptable. Then you suddenly come to the workplace and then you find that they are no longer acceptable. So there are things that you follow which are not necessarily followed by others. Actually, you also have to do an activity whereby I think that one you just do it on your own. That is activity that should be number 2.4, whereby you're asked, you're supposed to post on your on my UNISA, whereby you state some of the things that I don't think it's 2.4, whereby you just express some of the things that have happened to you, whereby you felt they were acceptable, maybe in your culture, in your past, which you then found that somewhere else they are not acceptable, or some things that you feel that were unacceptable, and then you go somewhere and then you see that they are now they are accepted by the people in the other part. So you can do that. I think that would be 2.1 if I'm not mistaken. So there's that activity. You should do it. Then you can just check whatever you saw along the way, whereby in your own culture, you take it as right, but it's misinterpreted by the others in other cultures. Then you also have to, because there are two questions there that you have to deal with. Number one, we have to give something that you do, guys, which is not understood, which is misinterpreted by other guys. And number two, you also have to deal with different things that you then saw from other guys, which were not in your culture. Right. Then the key to effective communication. Right. Right. Effective communication. This is achieved through active listening. Communication is not all about you speaking and you giving whatever ideas you have. You should also be able to be a good listener. Right. Then also send clear and concise messages. So it's about you listening very clearly, and then on the other hand, you should also be able to send a message that can be understood. Don't send ambiguous messages. And for you to do that, you have to understand your sender. There's no use in talking to someone who is not into accounting, and then you use a lot of accounting jargon. You have to know when you are talking to your boss, when you're talking to someone at your level, or when you're talking to your junior, you have to understand what are the ways that I can communicate, which can make my message to be understood. Because it doesn't help you if your message is not understood. Right. Improving listening skills. Right. There are various tips that are there for you to be a good listener. Right. You should make the speaker feel heard and understood. Right. When you are listening to someone, make them feel that you are listening to them and you really understand what they are saying. Because if you appear that you are not even listening to them, or you don't even understand anything, the communication might be hampered. When you're talking to someone and you see that they're not paying attention, you are likely to also maybe fail to communicate whatever you wanted to communicate. Right. So when you improve your listening skills, you make the speaker comfortable and feel to have to be understood. Is that right? So then also when you improve the listening skills, you also build stronger relationships. You will now understand each other. When they know that you can be able to listen, they can easily come to your office because they know that you're a listening person. Right. It can build deeper connections. As a team, there is trust and there's a bond that can be created because you are able to listen to each other. Right. All parties will feel free to express themselves. Give ideas and feelings. So you would find that if you know that you can be listened to, you can easily participate. But if you know that whatever you say will never make a difference, you would rather keep quiet. And because of that, good ideas might not come out. Right. Avoid conflicts. and misunderstanding. So when you are listening, you really know what is happening. And at the end of the day, we will not jump into conclusion. So at the end of the day, you will be able to avoid any possible conflicts fights because you listened properly. I think all of you in your lives, there is a situation whereby you reacted, and then later on, you hear the true facts, then you feel that you have done wrong. Or maybe you have tried to express something and someone else has jumped to conclusions and they only realize later and then they come and say, I'm sorry, because they didn't listen properly to you or to whoever was giving them the information. Right. So now when we talk about there are 4 listening skills that can help someone to be a very good listener, and that can enhance communication. Focus fully on the speaker. Eh, for you to listen to listen properly, you should have all your attention to the speaker. This can be through your body language, because remember that one of the barriers to effective communication, it's non-verbal communication, which is not understood. Your body language might mean something else to the speaker, which can change everything. So for there to be communication, you focus on the speaker. That's why sometimes when someone is talking to you, you will be glaring at them face to face, concentrating on them. Along the way, you also be responding there accordingly. So you should always focus on the speaker, because when you focus, I think we go back to the advantages of the listening skill. They will now feel that they are being heard and understood. They will go further, because there are things that you don't get because quickly you are not focusing, so they cut in between. And at the end of the day, you don't even hear the latter part, which was going to be an interest to you. So, but when you focus, when they see that you are focusing, they will go on and give you all the facts that are relevant. Right. Listen more than you speak. It can help you to make proper judgments and know what you have to say before you quickly jump into conclusions. So take time to listen. Avoid appearing judgmental. When you're listening to someone, usually avoid preconceived ideas, because you might find that maybe someone whom you always undermine, that day they might have a very good idea. So don't avoid judgments. And you should always know that difference in opinions do not make you not to communicate. And for you to listen, it doesn't mean that you agree with everything that is being said. You can even to listen to someone who is saying that what you don't agree with, but you are trying to understand. Then later on, you might see some other things that you can get from that communication. Right. Show your interest. For the speaker to properly talk to you, you should show interest. How do you show interest? Maybe along the way, you can even uh, ask questions to show that you are listening. You can even answer back, yes. Oh, I see. That's right. that shows that you are having interest. Even nodding the head, smiling can be to the presenter, then they will know that you are listening to them. So those are the key listening skills that you can also use to be a good listener, which will help you to be a very good communicator. Right. So we said number one, there are two things that we said for you to be that are required there. Remember, we said to achieve effective communication, you should have active listening. So here we're talking about listening here. In the next part, you should send clear and concise messages. Right. So you should send clear and concise messages. Right. Right. There are 7 C's. Which can enhance effective communication. This is according to the World Work Project. So for you to effectively communicate, if you follow these 7 C's, you can be able to make your message to be understood and avoid any conflicts. So the 7 C's, these are principles that a person should ensure that there are communications true. So you should make sure that whenever you communicate, your communication will adhere to these 7 C's. Right. Number one, clarity. Right. Your message should be very, very, very clear. That means the message itself, it should be very, very, very clear. Right. Message should be clear. Recipient should know the reason. The reason for receiving the message. Remember, there's a message that can mean something to you, and which can mean the exact message can mean something else to someone else also, because of the context, what we call contextual meaning. Right. And if you have got different goals, they should also be covered by your message. So don't use the language that will not be understood by you. Understand whom am I sending the message to. I'm sending this message to my brother who is in the rural areas, and my brother did not go to school. He doesn't understand much English. So let me make it simple as possible, or let me use this pad. Or if I have to use English, let me just use the basic English, which they can understand. what's the purpose of communication if you give me a lot of jargon? If I come here and then I'm telling you a lot of things that you don't understand, words that you don't understand, then it's useless. So you have to make sure that your message before you send it, understand. Normally you should understand your recipient so that you know what type of message can be easily understood by them. Right. Correct. You should be sending the correct message. That means we're talking about spelling and grammar. We're also talking about accurate information. Won't be, maybe you are sending a report on sales. Don't write 5,000 when it's supposed to be 4,000. I think we've seen that maybe, let's say a government notice comes out in the spelling mistakes. People will quickly say, I know this one, with these spelling mistakes, I don't think it's official. They can even undermine the message because it's not written properly. Right. Complete. To avoid back and forth, and to avoid wrong conclusion, know your objective when you're communicating and make sure that you manage to convey all the information that is required to save the objective. Is that right? So all information necessary for the intended reason for communication should be provided. When you are communicating with someone, know what is it that I want to achieve. And for that to be achieved, what is it that I have to communicate to this person? So it should be very, that can also be supported by clarity. Because you can give, if there's an action that you want, specify that I want you to do this and that after receiving this message. Concrete. Right. The message should, that you are sending, it should be coherent and it should be building on each other. There should not be a conflict between the facts that you are sending. So there should be logic. And the messages should fit each other. So I think there should not be contradiction on your messages that you are sending. You find that in one paragraph it's saying another thing, the second is saying something which is opposite to what you were saying in the first paragraph. The user might not be able to decipher what you are trying to send. So that also follows that you should also have data that can be that is the data should be capable of being validated. When we say concrete evidence, so whatever you are sending, you should be able to back it up for it to be concrete. It should not be something that that can easily be proven wrong, or so it's for it to be concrete, it should be related to correctness. Right, concise. To the point. Don't go to Polokwane, go to KZN, go to Western Cape when you're going to a specific place. Go straight to where you are going. Is that right? Don't use too much words. Don't unnecessarily repeat the messages or overcomplicate a message. That can avoid, that can result in confusion. So make sure that your message is to the point. Coaches. Right. So respect and politeness. When you're giving your message, it can help you a lot if you show respect and politeness. Right. Message should be friendly, professional, and open. That can help improve uh, that communication that you intend. Right. And the last one, considered and coherent. Right. They should be logical flow. So they should be order. That helps, that builds one point to another. And they should be consistent in language and tone. You might write the same things, but if you just mix them up, the recipient might not understand, but go flow step by step so that the points will be following each other as the user goes. So you should make sure that your message has got some logic. And you should also make sure that there is consistency when making multiple messages. Right, we're saying maybe you send a communication this week, next week you send a follow-up, next month you send a follow-up. They should show some resemblance and some so that the user can really understand what is happening. If you send another one today and the facts in the next one are different, when the circumstances have not changed, it doesn't help the communication. So you should make sure that the communication can be able to follow each other and to be understood by the user. So these are the 7 C's that can help your message to be understood by the recipient. Right. Any questions? Right. If you don't have any questions, then next week we wanted to, I'm not very sure if I will meet you because I understand that it's a holiday. but I will tell you, if I fail to meet you, maybe I can just send you notes that I would like you to read on social media so that we can be able to be on course. Any questions? Okay, if you don't have any questions, then thank you so much. Have a blessed evening and God bless you richly.